こんにちは、ゆうこ先生です。This lesson on Japanese particles is one of the most popular lessons on my channel. I received so many comments and likes. ありがとうございます。It means many learners struggle with Japanese particles. So today, I want to give you another lesson on particles. Before we get into today's lesson, let's quickly review the functions of these particles. The particle O marks a direct object. が marks things you like, subject of existence, or a specific topic within the main topic of the sentence. These three particles mark places. で marks a place of action. This ni marks a destination. And this ni marks a place of existence. These three particles connect nouns. と is used when you say A and B. や is to say A and B, for example. か is to say A or B. For the particle とやか, you can watch this lesson to learn more. I'll leave the link to the lesson in the description box below. Okay, today in this lesson, I'm going to add 4 more particles. は marks the main topic of the sentence. This と marks a living thing that you do something together with. This で marks a means or a tool that you use to perform the action. And here's another function of ni. Ni also marks a time expression. Just keep in mind that you use this ni only for the time expressions you would mark with a preposition in English. So, on Sunday is 日曜日に and at 5 o'clock is 5時に in Japanese. But you don't use this ni for the time expressions such as today, tomorrow, yesterday, every day, or every week. You don't mark those expressions with a preposition in English, right? You don't say on today or at yesterday. Likewise, we don't mark such time expressions with the particle ni. Let's add these particles to the list for today's lesson. I'm going to show you how we use these particles in Japanese sentences. では、始めましょう。I'm going to start with the destination marker に。日本に行きました。日本に行きました。I went to Japan. Simple, right? Now, let's say I don't want to end the sentence here and want to keep going. In that case, I have to change this verb, 行きました to the て form. 行って and continue like this. 日本に行って、京都で神社やお寺を見ました。日本に行って、京都で神社やお寺を見ました。わかりますか? Do you understand the meaning? そうですね。The sentence means I went to Japan and saw the shrines and the temples in Kyoto. This ya indicates shrines and the temples are just examples of what this person saw in Kyoto and automatically implies he or she saw other things too. And I will continue with this sentence. 京都は景色が綺麗でした。Now in this sentence, Kyoto is treated as the main topic. So you are saying regarding Kyoto or as for Kyoto. 京都は and 景色 scenery is the specific topic about Kyoto in this sentence. That's why you mark it with が。京都は景色が綺麗でした。These are the functions of each element marked by a particle. 日本に行って、京都で神社やお寺を見ました。京都は景色が綺麗でした。Let's put these particles back and here's the next sentence. 次の文章です。Now I'm going to use the particle に to mark a place of existence. うちにいちごがたくさんありました。うちにいちごがたくさんありました。I had a lot of strawberries at home. Now I want to use this statement as a reason. うちにいちごがたくさんあったので、うちにいちごがたくさんあったので。This ので marks a reason, and in Japanese, we add it after the reason statement. So this part means because I had a lot of strawberries at home. And here is the outcome or conclusion. いちごジャムといちごソースを作りました。わかりますか？そうですね。The sentence means I made strawberry jam and strawberry sauce because I had a lot of strawberries at home. Or I had a lot of strawberries at home, so I made strawberry jam and strawberry sauce. The wording in English doesn't matter as long as you clearly indicate which part of the sentence is the reason. And these are the functions of each element marked by a particle. うちにいちごがたくさんあったので、いちごジャムといちごソースを作りました。Here's the next sentence. では次の文章です。Now I'm going to use the particle に to mark a time expression. 毎週土曜日に友達と山か湖に行っています。毎週土曜日に友達と山か湖に行っています。わかりますか？そうですね。The sentence means every Saturday I go to the mountain or lake with a friend. By the way, for every Saturday, we say every week Saturday in Japanese. And here, you can also use 行きます instead of 行っています。However, 行っています sounds more natural in this context since this is what this person does every Saturday and ています indicates a repeated action. You can watch this lesson to learn how to use ています to express repeated actions. I'll leave the link to the lesson in the show more section below. One more thing that I want to point out. In spoken language, this い in ています is often dropped, and the Japanese people usually say 言ってます instead of 言っています。So I'm going to use this version in this lesson. Let's continue with another sentence. アウトドアが大好きです。アウトドアが大好きです。I love the outdoors or I love outdoor activities. These are the functions of each element marked by a particle. 毎週土曜日に友達と山か湖に行ってます。アウトドアが大好きです。Now, let's add another element to the first sentence. 毎週土曜日に友達と山か湖に車で行ってます。Do you understand the meaning of the sentence now? そうですね。This word, 車 is the transportation means for you to go to the mountain or a lake. And that's why it's marked by the particle で。Every Saturday, I go to the mountain or a lake with a friend by car. 毎週土曜日に友達と山か湖に車で行ってます。And if you want to specify whose car, you can add something like this too. 私か彼の車で by my car or his car. It's supposed to be like this originally, by the way, but you don't have to repeat the same part の車 because it's obvious in the context. So I dropped the first one. Of course, it's okay to leave it there too. 毎週土曜日に友達と山か湖に私か彼の車で行ってます。毎週土曜日に友達と山か湖に私か彼の車で行ってます。どうでしたか？ How was today's lesson? I hope it was helpful for you to understand these basic particles better. So these are the particles and their functions we covered in today's lesson. Please remember they are not only particles that we have in Japanese, nor the functions of these particles. The best way to learn particles is to use them in context. Practice completing a sentence like this with correct particles. I have particle exercises on my channel, and you can find all of them on a playlist. Use the link smilenihongo.com/particle to go to the playlist. I have been teaching Japanese for over 20 years, and now I offer online courses to support learners all over the world. If you are interested in learning Japanese with me, please check the description box below for the list of available courses. Right now, you can get course packages to get multiple courses with a discount. These packages can change or close anytime, so I apologize in advance if they are no longer available by the time you are watching this video. Especially the complete package will close sometime this year, 2022, when I publish the new course, Japanese 7. So if you want the current complete package, please sign up soon. You can find a link to the package website in the Shoma section below. 皆さんと一緒に日本語を勉強するのを楽しみにしています。ではまた次のレッスンで会いましょう。